With lots of talks surrounding XRP and Zebec network collaborating, coming together, we're going to be discussing in this video what the price of this token can be by the end of the altcoin season. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Zebec network. Now we will get into technical analysis, but that will be a little bit later. First, I want to compare Zebec to XRP, and I want to talk about some of the news and rumors that have been surrounding this token. Now, what I'm going to read is slightly old, but it is relevant because there's been consistent, talks about this. So we're just going to cover this very, very quickly. And if you already know about this, you could just skip like a minute and a half ahead. For those that don't, let's just jump right into it. So we can see, right, the live X space co-hosted by Zebec Network and Upheld delivered something rare in crypto substance. No hype, no stage theatrics, just a clear, unfiltered dialogue between Uphold's head of search, Dr. Martin, and Zebec Network COO Simon, moderator Ben White, and a quietly listening XRP and Zebec Network community that's long learned how to read between the lines. And between the lines, something big was revealed. It wasn't an official press release, but a nod. Ripple, the company behind XRP, has been in direct talks with the Zebec network over the past few weeks. Okay. Ripple has been in talks with Zebec over the last couple of weeks on some kind of partnership or collaborative deal. Mr. Forsyth said in his May 21st recap, that's all they would say. But the fact that they're even having the conversation is huge. Okay, so we know about this, right? We know about this, but just to put some light and clarity on it, right? First of all, any type of partnership with XRP, the fourth biggest coin, if you count USDT out, it is the third biggest coin. It is also the bank coin of crypto. It is absolutely huge. Okay, now let's make a comparison, right? Because some people are saying, well, this is going to be the new XRP. This is going to replace XRP. Imagine how high this token can go if it goes to XRP's market cap. And that is something that we are going to discuss, right? We can see that if we compare Zebec Network to XRP right now, this current market cap that we're at to XRP's, it would hit 426 times your money. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen. In fact, I think that's very, very unlikely. Okay. But here's the thing. Even if we have 10% of the pie, that is more than doable, especially with a partnership. And 10% of the pie of 135 billion market cap is 13.5 billion, something that is more than realistic, especially if we saw XRP and Ripple have some type of partnership, right? We know that there's going to be a good amount of tokens going between the 35 to 45 billion market cap zone. We also know a lot of tokens are going to be hitting 20 billion. So hitting that even 8 to 15 billion market cap range is more than realistic. And if we did, right, hit that 13.5 billion market cap, that would be still a 42x on your money if you bought Zebec Network now. But here's the deal. We know this coin is going to be dropping further and further down. So you might actually be able to get an even better deal, potentially 50x, 60, 70x, right? I truly do believe if this partnership does go through, this coin will be at the minimum hitting that 10 to 20 billion market cap zone. And like I said, at this price right now, at this price right now, right, we can potentially be hitting a 42x, 42. Right? And that's not even talking about Zebec Network coming back down to lower levels, right? Even I don't expect it to go too much further, right? But even if it did retest off of these highs over here, of the previous all-time highs, we could get a discount of 13%, even potentially going back down to 15%, right? So for me, getting a nice discount of 15% would mean a lot, right? You are getting those 50 times gains. So that is why I'm super, super high in this token. That's why I want to cover this token consistently. Now, you probably noticed that I did add some type of, lines and, cross. Here's the deal. I'm not using the default settings. I created my own. The reason why I created my own, ladies and gentlemen, is because the other one's so bad. I mean, I don't need weeks or months of confirmation to know things are going to reverse. Now, we're still going to be using certain technical analysis, but some of the advanced stuff we will save in general. And I just realized a lot of you guys don't even know what the hell I'm saying. So we're just going to keep it simple, right? We're going to keep it simple, but we are also going to be using the knowledge that I do have. Now, since this does have a unique pump, the daily is not so well on this, right? Yes, the daily actually would have been a perfect buying opportunity. You practically could have been buying like when it just started to reverse and been getting absolutely insane gains, right? If you get it from here and you even sold where I sold, you would have actually made 6.3 times your money. So really, really, really good, right? But since it does have a unique structure, right, with all this consolidation and its huge pump, we are going to be mainly using the 4-hour time frame, right? As the 4 hours is very, very strong. And we also will be using the 2-hour time frame to, see potential bigger reversal signs. Now, like I said, I'm still going to be using my own knowledge, right? Even if we do remove the indicator, like what I talked about in the other video, we have been creating lower and lower and lower and lower, and you guessed it, lower and lower and lower, and you guessed it, lower highs. Okay, so right now there is zero confirmation this coin is looking to reverse. Absolutely zero. And in fact, right, if we actually go look back, it is creating something very, very similar to here, right, where it is just consistently being very extremely fundamental until it starts reversing. Okay, so yeah, as of right now, ladies and gentlemen, there are no reverse signs, but what I see are opportunities, right? What I see are opportunities with this token. Now, once again, how low can this token go? Well, since we did create, an institutional type of candle, I do expect it to drop a decent amount, right? I, at the bare minimum, expect it to drop off to 0.003. Right, and we're talking about bigger support and resistance, probably even down to 0.002. Now, of course, right? Of course, if things do light up with XRP and Zebec network, this can reverse very, very quickly, which is why I'm not too keen on waiting for these very, very big pullbacks. Anywhere around the low 0.003s is personally where I'm probably going to start buying, right? I have a few key areas where I'm going to start looking to buy, right? Going in a little bit blind, but ultimately, fundamentally, I do believe in this project. I love the idea of it. And the fact that they can be potentially teaming up with XRP changes everything, right? Because like I say, even if you got 10% of the pie of XRP, you're going to be hitting a 42x from this price here. Let's say you only have 5% of the pie, you're still going to hit over a 20x from this price over here. So ladies and gentlemen, right? You always have to do your own research. You always have to make your own choices. But there's a lot of evidence for me that suggests this token is going to do absolutely well, unless, something really comes out bad with, the owner, or something fundamental changes, or all the deals flop. Then that's the only way. But that's the risk with every single token you do. Now, guys, if you want to see my portfolio, if you want a portfolio review, highly recommend joining the Discord. That's where everything is more in detail, more advanced, and you get to talk and vibe with an amazing community. So yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.